Welcome back to the WFT Declassified podcast, live from OTAs. We went out there today to Ashburn, hung out with the Commanders. Eric was out there taking selfies with the world. He got a selfie with Ron Rivera, Jahan Dotson. I mean, anybody you can name, he was out there taking photos with them, right, Eric?
They got selfies with me.
That's right. That's right. So, just to give you guys an idea of what the day was like, initially we got an email from the team inviting us out there. Of course, we took them up on it. We headed over to the practice bubble area at about 8 o'clock in the morning. They walked us down to the field, got our credentials, then we went down and we had breakfast with some of the executives from the team. And that was nice. Of course, they didn't sit with us. We sat at our own table. A lot of other invitees were there. Some of them sat with us, and then some sat all over the place. Then we headed over to the field, and it was really cool because they had gates lining up where all the players were walking onto the field at practice, and we lined the gates outside of the practice field. We were only probably about, what do you say, Eric, maybe 10 feet or so away from where the players were. Um, Running through those drills. So we got a really good look at everything. And of course, it's really that kid in a candy store perspective where everything looks good. But we got a lot of really cool things to talk about. But before we jump into that, let's say what's up to Brian. Brian wasn't able to make it with us today, but Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. I was enjoying all of your guys' videos and pictures that you sent over. Really cool. Looks like you guys got to see a lot of the action today.
Hey, let
Brian,
me tell you. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Brian, you were guy in a chair this week, man. Like you were the command center. It was pretty cool because all I did was text you a couple of photos, and next thing I know, I'm trending on Twitter.
People love those pictures. Those are pretty cool. The ones with Rivera, Samuel, those. Everybody loved those. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. We no, it was one of those things where, like, as a kid, as a 10-year-old, I never ever would have thought that I would do or get a chance to do. And when I was out there, I was like, as an adult and still like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And you never get used to how big these guys are and how fast they move, no matter how many times you see them in person. It's just unreal. And real quick, if you haven't already, check out our site, WFTdeclassified.com. We got some videos along with the article up there about the OTAs for you guys to check out and see. Make sure you read that. Also, make sure you are subscribed to this podcast. You can do that at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, anywhere you consume podcasts, we are there. And also, of course, on YouTube. Find that subscribe button. It should be somewhere down there below. Make sure you hit that. Stay locked in. All right. What we're going to do today, we're going to jump into our storylines from week 2 of OTAs. Of course, last week was week 1. Some really good information came out of that. I'm going to start with this because this just came out. So there was a tweet put out by Michael Phillips from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Make sure you're following him. He's a friend of the show. That said, the Commanders are planning on building a 55,000 seat stadium, max capacity for their new stadium, which in today's world is really bucking the trend of these mega stadiums. Brian, give me your thoughts on that.
I love it. When you build something smaller like that, there's almost an air of exclusivity, right? You make it smaller, you make it trendier. But here's the thing: just from a practical standpoint, it's much harder when you build something big to fill it consistently. And what did we see happen with FedEx Field? It was at its height, 92,000. When it started to shrink, right? When the crowd started to shrink, you know how hard and how ugly it was to watch them try to cover up seats. They had to create sheets to put over some of the seats, and then they put up cardboard or wood to try to hide some of the seats and stuff like that. That's just a terrible look. So when you're talking about building, you can add on to something, but when you make it that large and that monstrous, and then it's empty, yeah, that's such a bad look. So I think this is the way to go. Build something smaller, something that has more amenities around the stadium: bars, restaurants, shops, hotels, amphitheater, all those different things. Make it a destination that people can go to all year round, not just the football games, I think is the way to go. So that's cool. 55,000, I think that's good. Hey, if the fan base gets built back up and we're selling out 55,000 and we need more, guess what? You can always make things bigger. But to go the opposite way with a stadium, not so much.
Eric, you in agreement?
Yeah, 100%. 55,000 is the perfect,
Oh, yeah.
perfect size for an NFL stadium, and it should be that way. Personally, I think it should be that way everywhere. I hate, and not saying this is going to fix this, but just going to the game and just having our team just drowned out by opposing fans. And
Yeah.
when there's that many seats available, that's going to happen always time. It's easy to get a ticket because there's 20,000 empty seats. You get it down to 55,000. I know it's kind of a harken back to the old RFK days. Sat about 55,000 people. It's a much more as intimate as 55,000 people can be. It's a much better concept to have 55 a smaller size stadium, especially in today's NFL, especially with all of the manner in which people can watch the game now. Like, it's much harder to attract people to a game, whereas 25 years ago you could get 70,000 people in the stadium. It's a little tougher to do these days, so you have to kind of finagle the numbers or run promotions. It's much better if you can just have a decent sized stadium that you can fill. And hopefully, the Commanders can pack the house. I'm thinking small stadium. I'm thinking about RFK, man. I can't help it. Hopefully we can, it's much easier to pack a small stadium with actual fans of our team. That'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Really, what this is a bow to the future, right? Because as time goes on, there aren't going to be more people that go to games. There's going to be less people that go to games because technology at home is so good, and the experience of being in your own house with your friends is the real experience that fans are after on a game day. Now, that's just enough for your hardcore fans. Of course, there with everything there's cause and effect, right? So the one thing that's going to get extremely pricey are the secondary market tickets for games. Now that you don't just have an extra 30,000 of them floating out there. So be prepared to pay a premium price if you're buying tickets from season ticket holders, because there's not going to be any availability for tickets. The Commanders also have to consider, if they move their stadium out of their current location and out of DC, your executive suites, right? All those packages they sold to all the offices and the corporations in DC are going to be a little bit harder to sell, right? Because there's more travel involved to come to the games, right? Because you're not within 5 miles of DC or whatever it is currently. So I think they're really just adjusting to what the potential circumstances are there. I like the move. I don't think that the mega stadiums are really going to be the way to go very much longer. I mean, Dallas has that, 100,000 plus stadium. But they're a team that travels well. Fans come from all over to see that. The stadium itself is really the attraction down there in Dallas, more so than the team. But I like it. It's the right move. It's going to create a sense of supply and demand, right, with those tickets, and it'll lead to a better experience because you're probably only going to have your hardcore fans in and around. Not that we don't love casual fans, but I think that's really what they're looking for. Okay, on the field at OTAs, the tight end group looked absolutely massive. I loved it. Eric, give me your 10-second or your quick view of what the tight end group looked like at OTAs today.
That looked like a starting five for the Wizards out there. Those are some big dudes, man. I mean, we were talking about guys 6'7", 6'8". I mean, Cole Turner's a giant. I can't remember the guy's name. There's the guy that's out there that was 6'8". He's one of the newer players. I apologize. I don't have the roster right in front of me. John Bates is a giant. Just these guys are monsters, and then they make AGG look like a midget out there. Seriously, like he was just at 6'2" or whatever he is. Didn't even look like he belonged. Like, he was definitely the point guard of that group. And I'm gonna tell you, I really John Bates running with tight end one, loved it, and he looked really smooth. He looked really good out there. And Cole Turner is fast, and he's got some good hands. I know you guys aren't on board yet. That dude's going to see the field this year. He's going to make some plays. He's going to be a good player at the tight end / receiver position. I really like him.
Curtis Hodges, 6'8".
Yes, Curtis Hodges.
Yeah,
monster out there.
I tell you what, it's an impressive group physically. We'll see what they can do on the field. I told Eric at OTAs today, I said, I tweeted out that Ganny Golden looked like one of the bigger tight ends in the group. I don't know if he did in person or not. He did. I mean, there's some monsters
He
out
just
there.
didn't look, you know, he didn't look. These guys are all like 6'8", 250, and he's 6'4", 220. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, Brian, what do you?
You got to think though, with this tight end group, we've seen here the past 2 years in this offense, the tight ends got to be able to block and catch, right? We haven't had. I know there looks like there's a big effort to try to get a receiving tight end, and I don't know if that's just more so to get a receiving tight end or if it's more worry that Logan Thomas may not be ready by the week one rolls around. But because you have to do both in this offense, I mean, you're gonna have some big guys like again, John Bates. I know he's not the fastest guy out there, but he probably has some of the best hands in the tight end group that we've got here on this roster, and that includes AGG coming in and Cole Turner as well too. So I like it. You guys said Bates was running with number one. That's awesome because I think he is a starter. Does he give you the potential to break away and to do some like Travis Kelce type things? No, but he does have really good hands, and I think he does know how to find soft spots within the defense to sit down and catch the football. So I'm excited to see who else develops behind him. How did Cole Turner look to you guys? Did you see a bunch of them or what?
I got to see him. The tight ends were actually working out in front of us for a good chunk of the practice, and Turner he's fast. I mean, he's a smooth runner, and he runs really good routes, and he's just very fluid. He's probably the most fluid of the group. I think maybe AGG may have him on the route running a little bit just because he's a receiver, coming out of the receiver group. But I really liked Cole Turner. I was surprised at how athletic he actually was. A little
Nice.
thinner than I thought he was, but outside of that, I mean, he looked really, really fluid as an athlete.
Nice.
Yeah, I have no disagreement there whatsoever. It was really, really impressive to see. You saw like how people walk in a room and you just kind of notice them. When we got there, Cole Turner was walking to the field. That dude stands out because he's just a giant. Like he's so. But when you see guys like that, you're thinking like George Muresan, right? Like that kind of movement. This dude looks like he could run track. Like that's how smooth of a runner he is. Now, there's nuances about playing tight end in the NFL that I'm sure he's going to have to learn. So I want to pump the brakes so we're not jumping, out the window completely on it. But man, just from a raw athleticism perspective, he can do some things, it looks like. Now, Brian, you like to say a lot, we need our tight ends to block, and I completely disagree with you. Outside of like your top two guys, like, Logan can block, and Logan was there today, by the way. He was not working out with the team, but we
Right.
did see him on the field. But, you have Bates to block. I think there's going to be a tight end on the roster that doesn't block, that's just there for the athletic plays. And I think it's going to come down between Cole Turner and AGG.
Yeah.
The other guy that you guys just mentioned, his name is slipping my mind now. Thank you very much.
Curtis Hodges.
Curtis Hodges. Doc Walker mentioned him last time we spoke to him, and Doc Walker was pretty high on that guy. So the room is looking good, at least for week 2 of OTA. So I was very, very excited from what we saw there. Now, the practice environment there. Eric, give me your sense of the vibe of the practice there.
Early on, it was a little ragtag. It seemed. It just and I get it. It was the early part of practice. The music was playing. Guys weren't. It didn't seem as focused as maybe as it could have been. I thought as they started getting into the group sessions a little bit deeper, it got much more crisp. And everything was right on time as it should have been. There was definitely some urgency, but early on, I was like, "What are these guys doing? This is like high school."
Yeah.
But it was basically glorified warm ups prior to going into team. They go out and do a little bit of individual work, and they're just kind of going through the motions like that. And I was like, "Man, I hope this isn't a harbinger." But it wasn't. I thought they looked much better as the day progressed.
Yeah, if you've ever been to training camp when Jay Gruden was coach, that's what the first part of practice looked like. Like the first 5 minutes, though. We're not talking about the entire practice. It was kind of that lax environment, but it was definitely a warm-up period too. So give the players their grace. But when it was time to work, they worked and it was efficient. They moved from drill to drill to drill. Guys weren't showing up late. The running backs were right in front of us too. And you got to see the interaction with Randy Jordan and his running backs. And Jared Patterson, God bless him, went first in the drills. And I looked at Eric. I said, man, I would never want to be first through one of the drills because he messed it up a couple of times. And Randy Jordan got on him big time. But then afterwards, you saw him show some appreciation for him doing it better the next time around. So it was really cool to see that type of interaction.
Yeah, I definitely get why Randy Jordan is held in such high regard. His demeanor, and he even interacted with us a little bit.
Yeah.
With the crowd. He was just kind of like just throw a little aside over his shoulder, drop a little joke. But he was very hard on them when they made mistakes, but he was also very, it was like fatherly, I guess the best way to put it. He was just like, he was able to strike that tone of just that balance between like being tough on him, but also like showing him love. And yeah, I totally get it. Like why he's been around for so long, and he's stuck around through 3 coaching staffs now.
Yeah, it was impressive. And Brian, I want to tell you, I know you got something to say, but your running back, man, he looked pretty decent out there, Brian Robinson. So I just want to give you that little nugget right there.
Well, good. I'm glad to see because he's got a purpose, and I know he will be working hard. But let me ask you guys. So you're out there. You mentioned that the start of practice kind of looked a little discombobulated. For me, with anything, whether it's a football practice, whether it's a work environment, any leader out there, if the people under them, tend to kind of take on their personality. If they're a little lackadaisical, the rest of the group will be a little lackadaisical. Did you guys see anything from the coaches? Were they just kind of all like, "Hey, I want to be your friend" type, or were they serious and like, "Hey, do the drill right, or you're going to do it again," type of guys or coaches that are out there? Like, what's kind of the demeanor of some of these coaches?
So I would say, like we said with Randy Jordan, he got on him. Like, I mean,
Okay.
and I don't want to overstate the guys being lax. It was a warm-up period, and they were clearly just getting in the
Right.
motion. But yeah, Randy Jordan was on him. I didn't hear the tight end coach say anything at all. Like, to be honest with you, but they were just
He's a brand
functioning
new guy,
through.
right?
Yeah.
He's
But yeah,
good.
but they went through their drills though, like you expect them to. Ron was there. I didn't hear him say anything at all. Norv Turner was there, as was Scott. When they went to 11 on 11s, you saw Scott's Turner speak up a little bit. And there was another assistant there. I don't know who it was, that was helping orchestrate things on the offense. He's actually helping the scout team defense. But it wasn't like, remember the Titans or something like that, where the coach is just constantly on you. But you have to remember, you're dealing with grown adults too, right? And so you can only push so much before you start to create a negative environment there. But overall, I really liked the environment that they had going at practice once the players got locked in.
Yeah, I did get to hear a little bit of Castillo's style. He's different than Jordan. Castillo was really very much in teacher mode. Like he was just giving instruction the whole time. He's not a real loud guy, not a real vocal guy, but he was talking the whole time, and you could just hear him giving instructions to the players about what's next, what you're doing. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is how we're doing it. This is what you're going to do. And he was talking. He was talking the whole time. But again, he's not real loud, real vocal. But he's definitely different. Not as animated as Randy Jordan. But he was. Yeah. Every coach kind of has his own style.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't get any kind of disrespect or lack of respect. They were. The players were very attentive to him as well.
Oh, good. He's got big shoes to fill with Pete Hainer retiring. Did you guys see my favorite, John Matsko, offensive line coach?
They were working on the far field for pretty much the whole time, so we really didn't get to. We kind of could just see what they were doing from afar, but we didn't get to experience much of what they were doing.
Yeah. And I was happy. Ron Rivera remembered me, and I can tell this because he said, "Hey, how you doing?" when he looked at me while he was signing somebody else's autograph from a Zoom meeting I had with Ron last year. So that was kind of cool to see that he had that kind of memory because it was a brief meeting. Let's talk wide receivers, okay? Because look, if there was anything to walk away from today being excited about, in my opinion, it was the wide receivers. I mean, Curtis Samuel was out there looking fast, lean, and mean. Diami was out there looking smooth as silk. Jahan Dotson, the rookie receiver, yeah, he was balling. So just the one thing I didn't notice a lot of was Cam Sims. He was with the first group. Obviously, Terry was out. I think we're so used to seeing him already. I was kind of looking more at Samuel and Diami to see how he's doing, and Dotson. Both of those guys, Dotson and Samuel, caught deep passes from Wentz. A thing of beauty. But Eric, give me your recap of the wide receivers today.
Yeah, they were fun to watch. Curtis Samuel looked the part, and he looked like there was nothing wrong with his groin today. He was flying, really smooth in and out, just fast. He was taking, we can't talk too much about what they were doing, but he was getting the ball. He was involved very much. Yeah, he was great. I was really impressed with Dotson. Little guy though. Oh my gosh, I knew he was small. He was a little guy. I mean, he looks like he's about 165. He's just a little fella. But very fast and just tremendous hands. I mean, that guy just caught everything, and not every pass was great. So yeah, I was really impressed with him. Diami, I didn't actually pay that much attention to Diami on there. I know he was getting open. He caught a couple in drills, but I didn't really see much when they were going 11 on 11. Yeah, I thought Curtis Samuel super impressive, and Diami and Jahan Dotson also really good. Caught a great deep ball from Carson Wentz.
Yes.
That's awesome. Overall, the wide receiver group, did everybody look? I think you guys touched on it a little bit there, but everyone looked essentially healthy, right? Like there wasn't anybody kind of limping around or anything like that. Samuel looked good to you guys, and Diami. So everybody looked healthy and ready to go.
Oh, you know who had a couple of grabs too was Dax Milne.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah, he had a couple of nice little mid-range. He was running with the second group, but yeah, he had a couple of nice grabs.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, everybody looked healthy.
Oh, good. We're going to need every last one of them. So yeah, that's awesome news.
Yeah, no, it was really impressive. Let's see, Gibson and Robinson. Let me tell you something about. So Ron and the whole recreating the D'Angelo thing, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart thing. I was kind of like, but I saw him in person. Let me tell you something. Antonio Gibson looks in his best shape I've ever seen him in. The man has huge calves too, if I'm allowed to say that on this podcast. The guy just is, he looks like he's going to run through some brick walls. I mean, we want him to run around the walls, but he just is in that kind of physical condition. It was amazing to see. And I tell you, Robinson looked tremendous. I thought he did, going through the drills that we saw. And of course, let's keep perspective. They're running on air, and against pads, but he really, really, really looks the part. That's a big dude. He's not so as like Diesel's, I thought, but he's a tall dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what he did? He caught a couple passes too. He actually was good in the receiving game. He was going and plucking them out of the air. He wasn't letting them into his body or anything. Doing his receiving drills. A couple of balls were a little high, a little outside. He snagged them pretty well. But yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought he would be like a little more stout, but he's more of a lean player. Doesn't mean he's not a power runner, because obviously he is. But yeah, he looks like he's in great shape, ready to go for 930 yards, right, Brian?
RB1. Yeah. No, that's awesome that Gibson is looking fit and healthy, and that Brian Robinson certainly looks the part. What about our spark plug from last year, JD McKissick? Were you guys able to see him? I know he had a highlight move last week during OTAs that everybody went nuts about. How did he look?
Going through the pad drills, he was the best running back going through those drills. I mean, that guy's feet are so quick and efficient.
Yeah.
It is it's jaw dropping just seeing somebody work through the pads like that. And you could tell, and I know I put this in the article earlier, but just the respect between him and Randy Jordan is just it jumps off at you when you're there. Of course, you look good in going through drills. Carson hit him on a few out routes and things like that out of the backfield in the team period. I don't want to leave out the fullback. The fullback was really involved. I don't know if you noticed that, Eric, but Armar, is that his name? Alex
Armar Jr.
Yeah, I saw him get in the mix a little bit.
Have us a fullback this year, because he was involved quite a bit.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, that was surprising, but I liked it. I mean, I'm all about the run game.
He was working with the ends a little bit as well.
Yes, he was.
H-back stuff. Yeah, he was in early on, because he was the only guy shorter than AGG with the tight ends.
Yeah,
he was there.
He was absolutely there. All right.
Garrett Patterson too, because like I said, like Ellie said, Patterson had a couple of little flubs early on, but really he does look very explosive, and he's got some pretty good feet, and he's built like a fire hydrant. Like that dude, just his lower half is insanely huge. It's crazy.
Absolutely. One of the bigger stories I think this week was Chase and Montez Sweat were both there. I think this is the first time they've been there. Obviously, Sweat went through everything that I could tell. He went through all the drills. Chase came out, did some work on the side field. The guy is a monster when you see him in person up close. But he kind of, stayed to himself, did his work, a little stretching, a little, work on the leg and things like that. And then he went in the building. But I tell you what, it was good to see him out there with the rest of the group and Montez Sweat as well.
No knee brace either.
Hmm.
I mean, he wasn't doing a lot, but he wasn't wearing a brace. He wasn't noticeably limping. He was doing his thing. And he is somebody who's been injured for 6 months, still in peak physical condition, because he looks amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Like he could play today. Not that we want him to, but he just had that type of physical appearance where it looked like he could. So that was really cool.
With Chase being out, who was taking snaps opposite Sweat at the other defensive end spot?
When they did first team defense, they were on the far field. I couldn't see that. Did you see that, Eric?
Yeah, I want to say it was not Gandy Golden. Smith Williams, I think, was the guy out there. Was that 92?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 92. So if that was Smith Williams, I can look it up on my tiny little writing here that I don't have.
I think he's 96, and I think 92 may be the new guy, F.A. Obata.
No, Daniel Wise.
Daniel Wise.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, Daniel Wise was out there taking snaps.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, what was that? He's giving Daniel Wise a gas face, Brian. Come on, man.
We've got to improve that depth behind those two guys. But anyway,
I'm mistaken on that. I definitely saw 92 out there taking reps. He may not have been with the ones. I thought he was, but it was hot and I was thirsty, so maybe I missed it. But I'm pretty sure that's who I saw out there.
Two other notes on the D line. Deron Payne was on the side field the entire time, but Deron Payne is just a massive human being. I mean, there's no way I would get tackled by that guy. Or I'd just run backwards because he is such a menace, just from an appearance perspective.
Makes that large. I don't even know how those work.
Yeah.
So big. It's ridiculous.
He is huge.
For him.
I didn't see a lot of Fedarian Mathis. I saw him on the field working on the sleds. I didn't notice him today that much. I wasn't really looking for him either. So let me put that out there. I'm not dissing the guy. I'm just saying I didn't see him a ton. I was on the way home. I was listening to Logan Paulson talk about him. And I think he said he did a really good job in week 1 of taking on blockers. And one thing he struggled with were the lateral zone runs. He said he looked like he struggled quite a bit there. But he's a bigger, D tackle. So you're probably going to see that. But yeah, Deron Payne looked like a mountain. He's just a mountain of a person. I thought Chase looked good in his uniform, getting ready and getting prepared, like he was doing well in his recovery. Montez was back to being Montez. And, John Allen, oh my gosh, he was there too. He's a big person too. That guy, his fists are like the size of my face. So, it was really good to see all the guys out there today. And all right, we're going to wrap up the OTA aspect of this, talking about quarterbacks. Eric, I'm going to let you tell us about what you saw of the quarterbacks live and in person today.
Man, let me tell you, I had a couple of impressions. Carson Wentz's arm is ridiculous. It's so noticeably different from everybody else's out there. I mean, he just has an absolute rifle, and it's just natural. He wasn't even like he wasn't trying to throw hard. He just a natural hard thrower. Now, he was a little off. I thought he wasn't super accurate, especially with some of like the wheel routes that he was throwing, but it's early in OTAs. But man, does that guy have a cannon? He is just, it's unreal how strong his arm is. So I was, obviously very impressed just with that aspect. I mean, that's going to add a whole new dynamic. I mean, that pass he threw to Dotson had to be 60 yards in the air. I mean, that was just a bomb. It was a great throw. So yeah, really impressed with Carson Wentz's just like physical ability. Like that, there's no doubt he can make every throw in the NFL. Taylor Heineke, he was out there. Actually, he had a little bit of zip on his passes, a little more than even I was expecting to see. Obviously not as hard as Carson Wentz, probably not as hard as Sam Howell, but he had a little bit of zip on his passes. But it was, there was definitely a drop off. But he is the clear cut number 2. He's take all this reps with the second team. Sam Howell is clearly third. Sam Howell throws probably not the hardest ball, not the strongest pass, but he throws the prettiest spiral of any of those quarterbacks. I mean, everything that came off his hand was just beautiful. He has a really, really nice touch. And the most surprising thing about Howell is how small he actually is. Like, there is a 0% chance that dude is 6'1", 225. He actually came up and he was talking to us a little bit. He stood next to Ellie. They're the same height. I'll let Ellie tell you how tall he is. I don't want to.
5'11". I'm 5'11".
I'm 5'11" as well. Sam, how's that? And $190 tops. Like, would you agree with that, Ellie?
Yeah, he Heineke was bigger than him.
Heineke was bigger than Sam Howell. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Same height. Heineke definitely had more mass to him, but it doesn't diminish from Howell's arm strength because he's a really nice arm. I don't have any question that he can make all the throws. He threw some really nice deep balls in practice, and like I said, he spins it as good as anybody out there. I mean, he really throws a nice ball.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got to tell you, you know me, I've kind of said Sam Howell's a guy that we just drafted a project, see what happens. Seeing his arm live today, I was like, whoa. It was one of those moments. I said, Eric was like pointing it out. And I said, oh my gosh, that guy, zip is the best word I can use for it. It gets to where it's going, it gets there in a hurry, and it gets in a location the receiver can make a catch and do something with. I thought Wentz did a lot of that too today. I mean, Eric's right. Wentz's arm is in another class all by itself. It's just amazing, right? But Howell's arm was incredible. I thought Heineke, he did have some passes with some zip on it, and he also had some other kinds of passes. And the one thing that you noticed with Heineke, I'm being nice today.
Deep balls just weren't there. I mean, just be honest. Anything over like 15, 20 yards, just
And every single pass I saw him throw, the receiver had to make an adjustment when catching the ball, even if it's a slight adjustment, like the ball's over here, or you know what I mean. Like, it's not where the receiver is going to. It's not a knock on Heineke. It's just what I saw today. But I agree with Eric. Like, he's firmly entrenched as number 2 in terms of reps. And one interesting thing I saw with the quarterbacks in the last part of the drills, only Wentz was allowed to throw to the running backs in drills. Eric, I don't know if did you see this? And all the other quarterbacks were throwing to coaches. It was Gibson, and it was either the McKissick or Robinson that was over there. And I was like, why don't the 2s and 3s throw to the running backs too? They didn't. Gibson and Robinson would only go out
part of that arm.
Yeah.
Coach, nah, you're gonna hurt my hands. So are the running backs. Surprises me actually with the quarterbacks is that they catch their own pat. Like, when they throw to each other, they actually catch. Like, they don't have somebody catch for them. I would never do that with my quarterback. I'd always have somebody. I wouldn't let him catch. I don't want him jamming a finger.
Right. But I tell you what, the quarterback room is a lot more impressive this year than it was at this time last year. I will say that. Now, you can tell me all you want to about Fitz. I'm not buying it. Carson Wentz is different. Now, can he put it all together on the field when it matters? That's a question that we can't answer right now. But in OTAs, it was really impressive. I walked away from that just like, it looked good. We saw Kelvin Harmon there too. And that was good to see. I didn't necessarily see him do anything, but he was there. That was also nice to see. Just some other takeaways. Obviously, we saw our guy Jonathan Williams. Jamin Davis, without the pads on, is just he could be a wrestler for WWE. That guy is like
he's built like a pro wrestler.
Yeah. That guy's unreal.
Like walking around in his underwear. But
did he look good? I didn't see a lot of notes on him or hear anything about him. Was he doing anything out there?
I honestly didn't even see him on the field because they were on the other side the whole time.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any real anything to really watch. There wasn't the 11 on 11s that they were doing is basically touch football, so it's hard to really gauge that. But he definitely looks the part.
Yeah. How did Wentz on those deep passes? Did it look like they were in rhythm, or was he like holding the ball, looking, and then loading up and throwing, or were things kind of just essentially 1, 2, 3 balls out?
Well, there was one when he had like 11 seconds to throw the ball. There was one he definitely was just waiting. Like, I think he went through his progressions and then just threw the deep ball because nobody was rushing him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard again with no pads. It's a little tough to see. But yeah, I saw him. He threw a couple of good deep balls. I saw one attempt by Harmon that Harmon almost got to. It was a little bit overthrown. Harmon did a nice diving effort at it, but couldn't quite get to it. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, he hit Samuel deep and he hit Dotson deep on a really nice pass.
The best part about the Samuel deep pass was he caught it and then he laid it up over the goalpost. And you're not
Yeah.
doing that if you're not all the way healthy. You know what I'm
Good.
saying? So, Eric, on the way out for the OTAs, any final thoughts? Anything that you want to leave out there?
I'm excited to see. I'm just excited to see the team this year. I think it's fun. I appreciate them just letting us come out to watch. Honestly,
Yeah.
so big shout out to those guys and Ellie with all his cloud getting us in there. So I really appreciate that. I definitely can't wait to see Wentz throw live because man, that guy's got a cannon arm.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Eric was this close to getting Troy Apke's autograph. I think he walked over there.
Apke from Apke, though. He did come by and give me a little fist bump.
Did he dap you? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Apke from Apke.
Who had the longer line for autographs, Jahan Dotson or Troy Apke?
Following those, there's some guys out there that really love them some Apke.
They really that's true.
Apke kind of didn't really stop the sign, but
no.
That's right. They're both Penn State guys too, aren't they?
Yep. Well, and remember, it's a private event too, so there weren't that many people there, so we had access to everybody on the way in. But I mean, shout out to even Jack Del Rio. I mean, he stopped on the way in. I think he stopped on the way out too. All the coaches there were phenomenal. The staff there was excellent. If you're watching this or listening to this and you get a chance, you get an invite, or you know somebody that knows somebody, make your way out there. If not for the OTAs, make sure you get out to training camp. The team is doing a much better job with these type of events to get people involved. It was really, really cool to see, and to see your favorite players up close. Just second to none, with these guys. Now we'll see what it all amounts to, but I had a blast. We'll provide any and all updates we have for OTAs. Make sure you check out the website and everything like that. Brian, final thoughts?
Yeah, just something to tag along with what you guys are saying about Sam Howell's arm, his zip that he has on the football. So something that I tweeted out back during the Senior Bowl. So end of February, where all the rookie quarterbacks were there at the Senior Bowl. They basically chart all the throws for those quarterbacks, and Sam Howell was essentially at the top in terms of these couple categories here I'm going to give you. So longest air yards, right? Throwing the ball as far as you can. Longest air yards, he was second at 63.1 yards. Malik Willis was first. Highest initial air speed, he was third at 69.7 miles per hour. Highest spin rate. I think this is LE and Eric, you guys were mentioning the zip he has to get the ball quickly to the receiver at any point on the field. He was first. Highest spin rate at 728.6 RPMs. So he actually, when he winds up and he throws it, he can really move the ball. That spiral is really tight and he can get that to the receiver quickly. Average spin rate. So not just, on a really hard throw that he loads up and, puts all his weight behind, but just on his average throws, he was also first among all those quarterbacks. Average spin rate of 516.4 RPM. So he has legitimate arm strength and arm talent. So I think there was a reason that he was talked about as one of the top quarterbacks in there and a reason why we drafted him. So I think you guys hit the nail on the head and noticed it right there that he does have arm talent, and it is on par, if not, in some categories, it's actually the best in terms of the rookie quarterbacks anyways.
Yeah, speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Cole Kelly, the 6'7", 250 quarterback.
Oh, yeah. How did he look?
Something I just noticed, he throws a really flat football. I don't know if it's because he's so tall and is used to throwing down. I was watching him and Hal throw back and forth, and I think he threw a couple to some receivers. It is just a really flat ball. Now, can that work in the NFL? Absolutely. I'm not hating. It was just an observation that I made. And not that I think he's going to get any serious time this year, because where he's going to be, lower into the roster, practice squad kind of guy. But it was, he got to where it needed to go, and he does have some good arm strength. Make no mistake, but it was just a really, really flat ball. But anyway, thank you for checking us out. This has been the OTAs. You got something, Eric?
I just said he throws a really different ball than the other guys do.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Steven Montez 2.0?
No, sir. What did you say earlier at the OTAs? Brock Osweiler, Paxton Lynch 2.0. How about that? Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. We will check you next time.